So thanks for joining us on the session about web pages. Now, web pages are available to Plus subscribers, and unlike about pages, web pages are a set of up to 10 web pages per site. So I'll give you some examples here. Again, the Ontario Genealogical Society, these are either links to their website or they are web pages that they've built out using their web page option. So here's one about their collection. And you can see that the style sheet is the same. So they've got the same wrapper around the content that they've added. And they've also got the navigation sidebar consistently, as well as the navigation bar at the top. So this is a way for them to provide a little context about their collection, what their intentions are, and so on, right within their digital collection space. And also about the OGS, so this is really more about the organization. And again, they're using the left-hand sidebar. I'm going to go to a different site. Sorry about the background noise if you're hearing that. Digital West Van. So these folks have also a series of web pages here. And this is, again, contextual. It's about the digital collections, what the kind of content is, how to navigate it, and some of the intention around their collection policy. And again, it's within that same style sheet. They have a how to use the site. So in this case, they've added a video, which they compiled about navigating through their own site. And again, you've got the same style sheet running in behind. The navigation bar stays, so that's persistent. And in this case, what they've done is they've simply embedded a record. This is a record from their VITA collection. The reason I'm showing you more of these is because it's an interesting extension of what would normally be on the library website, but in this case it's apropos to the digital collection. And so these are their copyright and usage guidelines. And in the case of their collection, I believe they have a link on most of their objects, on most of their records that link back to these guidelines so that people have a strong sense of what they can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do, so I should say. They also have a download order option, so you can, if you do have a local organizational service, you can link out to that and provide information about how people can get reproductions and so on. So you'll notice, that things are there's a consistency to them. That's one thing that's nice about having your web pages built right within VITA, is that you get a consistent look and feel. So people aren't hopping back and forth to the library website where the navigation will be very different, and then back to the digital collection where, it's a very different set of content. So with the web pages, it means that you can build things out that are appropriate to the actual digital collection. Sorry for the pausing. So to manage these and to add your web pages, again, you're back in your main menu and you do need to be a site administrator for this. So I'm clicking through, and on my left-hand side, because this is a Plus subscription level site, I get web pages on my left-hand side. So here, what I have basically is a set of navigation and some basic settings for my web pages. So if you were with me during agency management, we talked about the About page. So every agency gets an About page, and that's to talk about that agency, like about our organization. The web pages are site level. So the web pages are 10 web pages, up to 10 pages for the site. So it also means that then you're branding it by the site and you're talking about the site. You're not talking 10 pages about the organization unless you're a single organization, in which case, carry on. In this case, we have a few pages built out. up to 5 of them, and you'll notice that the last 5 are not set yet, so they're empty. And it's kind of like working with multi-page objects, right? You get a little snippet about the content. The first thing though is which sidebar you want to use, and as I pointed out here on the OGS page, they have the consistent sidebar from their home screen, and that's the left sidebar. So you can choose the left sidebar or you can choose the right sidebar, but you have to choose one for all of your web pages. So you can choose to use the left one or the right one, or if you want, like Digital West Van, they use neither. So that means that then you've got nothing going on either side to clutter your web page. I should probably use a different example. So that you've got just the full width of text, your custom text on the web page. You already have your navigation up above, so that's the simplest way for people to navigate back to the home screen and so on. But if you did have something like in our training set, we have our web pages listed on the right-hand side, and this was intentional so that when I click through to one of my pages, what I should do is change this so that I'm not using my left but using my right, so that I can navigate between the web pages themselves. I can always go back to the search page here. So this is a little bit of a goofy set, right, because it's training, but essentially it's an illustration of what you can do. And when you click through to any of your web pages, you're presented with a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Text editing screen. You have a very familiar kind of MS Word toolbar for styling. Okay. Top left-hand corner, for those of you that are young enough, this is a floppy disk, and that means save. And I don't mean to patronize you, but honestly, it's amazing that that is still in use. But it does mean save, and that's the only save button on the screen. So when you do work on your web pages, you do need to save. After you make any changes in here, make sure to save here. You'll also notice that there's an HTML source button, and when I click on that, I'm opening a new dialog box with the HTML exposed. Okay, it means that I can then build out an HTML page. So in the example of embedding a video, so if I grabbed an iframe from somewhere, which is no longer good practice, but it's what we used to use, was grabbing iframes, you can embed that. Yeah, you can make it pretty darn fancy. You can even do inline styling if you want. So there's lots of options with these. I don't think that it should supersede your organization website, but it does mean that you've got much more play inside your VITA site for contextualizing and putting your best foot forward. Now the difference with the save button here is that you've got an update on the bottom left, so always click that. It'll close the dialog button and then show you what you've done here. And I did this on purpose because if you decide to use neither sidebar, you can also build in a menu using HTML, so people can navigate using, like this, in this case it's a background colored table with links to the different web pages, and it means that people can then navigate that way instead of having to navigate through your sidebars if you don't want to use that real estate on your web pages. So you click that, and the web page title, of course, is the what you want that title to be. So that's this page here, right? And if I click on one of these, it takes me to another web page. Maybe not. There's a more complex video or complex page, and this is an embedded video from YouTube, which is particularly funny, I think. And now, of course, I've lost my navigation because I don't have this built out on every page. So once you're done with these, you can go in, and these are assigned a number, essentially. So training digitization page, in this case, This is the first one that I've created, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the first one that I list. So you'll notice here, they end up displaying with backslash about and then backslash number. So about 1 is your agency about page, and then after that it's your web pages. And it doesn't matter what order you present them in. These, then I could change this to 2, and it will go to whatever it is that they populated their second web page with, or their first web page with. So once you've made your changes to your web pages, be sure to reinitialize just so that you capture all of this information and you secure it. I'm going to change this to right-hand side sidebars. I'm reinitializing. And then the thing that you do need to do is follow through by creating a sidebar so that you've got links somewhere. Or you don't have to use a sidebar. As I said, you can use the HTML, but if you create a sidebar with your web pages named, then it's a very straightforward and visible way of linking out to those pages. So again, you'd go back into your search page, scroll down, and you'll notice that this little part of the screen is actually starting to populate with the pages that have content. So if they were listed as empty, they're not listed here, but the first 5 pages, all of their titles are there and their numbers are there. So I can simply grab the URL, right? And I'd go down to my right-hand sidebar, which is where I've got my web pages sidebar, and here's my link. And I can copy and paste that in, so depending on what I'm doing. But this is a very straightforward way of building out the web pages. So just copy and paste that HTML, and we will try and aid and abet that by linking them out here. And you'll notice I was wrong, actually. The about page, the agency about, will be an A1, and then your web pages are listed from 1 and forward from there. Just for those of you that are URL geeks. If you'd make any changes to your sidebars, scroll down, click Update, and reinitialize, and make sure that your links and your labels are what you want them to be. And then when I go into any one of these things, you'll notice that my sidebar is now on the right, which makes more sense for traveling between the web pages and maybe the storyline that I'm adding here. You'll notice that I've also put in some styling and so on. And you can also build out custom searches. So I don't know if you recall talking about these site widgets. So when you're on your site widget screen, there's a simple form here that you can use, and you can start building out some pretty interesting scoped searches if you want. If this is it's not that direct of a thing to do, but that's one example, is that search the BMDs. And then the other one that we have is from our developer's site, the Maritime History of the Great Lakes. He has scoped a search to shipwrecks, and so he's got a web page built out with just searching certain types of data from the collection. So an interesting kind of foray into deeper ways of displaying your content. So that's it for web pages, essentially.